In 1931, the Korean Provisional Government in Shanghai was in a crisis because there was very little money to run it. And Kim Gu was the president, and he came up with an idea to break out of crisis. He recruited Korean young men who were willing to assassinate Japanese dignitaries, and he formed Korean Patriotic Corps. Yoon Bong-gil was a young man who was in his 20s and lived in the countryside of Chang province in Korea. He was a farmer, educator, and independence activist who was yearning for the independence of his own country from Japan. His activities in his hometown was increasingly restricted because of Japanese suppression. Then he read about Mambosan incident in Manchuria, and he decided to leave his home to go to Shanghai to meet Kim Gu. Japanese ambition did not stop at Manchuria. They wanted Shanghai too. On January 18, 1932, Japanese army conspired an incident that provoked Chinese demonstration against the Japanese. Japanese army bribed several Chinese factory workers and let them attack Japanese monks who were in a Japanese settlement in International District in Shanghai. One Japanese monk was killed. Hundreds of Japanese went after Chinese, and they even burnt down the factory nearby. Then Chinese police came to settle the scrimmage, but a Chinese policeman died. Then Chinese came out to the street and began to protest against the Japanese. Now Japanese had the good reason to bring their troops to Shanghai. On January 27, 1932, Japanese brought 30 ships, 40 airplanes, and 7,000 troops to Shanghai. Chinese deployed 19th Route Army, and it had 33,000 men. And the Japanese army was conducted by Yoshinori Shirakawa, who was the commander of the Shanghai Expeditionary Army. Japanese army met the formidable resistance from Chinese army, and they needed much more troops from Japan, and they brought more ships, aircrafts, and they even brought aircraft carrier. It was the first time the aircraft carrier was used in the battle in Northeast Asia. Eventually, Chinese 19th Route Army withdrew from Shanghai, and the Japanese army prevailed. And the Chinese army had to leave Shanghai without having any units left in their own territory. However, Japanese army were able to have small units left in Shanghai. The battle was won by Japan. In the winter of 1931, Yoon Bong-gil was working at the factory owned by a Korean businessman, Park Jin. With his help, he was able to meet Kim Gu, and he pledged to sacrifice himself to do anything for Korean independence. Then Kim Gu got the information that Japanese was planning the celebration of Emperor Hirohito's birthday and the Japanese occupation of Shanghai on April 29, 1932 at Hongkau Park. Kim-gu thought that it was a huge opportunity for Korean Provisional Government to show the world its existence and how serious Koreans were for the independence from Japan. At the time, Japan was not very popular in the world stage because of Japanese aggression to Manchuria and Shanghai. In fact, China petitioned the League of Nations for Japan to withdraw from Manchuria, and the League of Nations asked Japan to do so, but Japan refused and withdrew the membership from the League of Nations. Kim-gu and Yoon Bong-gil decided to bomb the platform at the ceremony, and Yoon Bong-gil officially joined the Korean Patriotic Corps on April 26, just 3 days before the bombing. The Japanese officials sent out the public notice that anybody who wanted to attend the ceremony could not bring anything but a lunchbox and water bottle. Kim-gu provided Yoon Bong-gil with homemade bombs that resemble the lunchbox and the water bottle. Yoon Bong-gil safely entered the park and got the seat in the front very close to the platform. He threw the bomb during the ceremony and it detonated successfully, and many dignitaries got killed or injured. There were many generals and Japanese officials on the platform. General Yoshinori Shirakawa, who was the commander of the Japanese army that invaded Shanghai, got injured severely and could not recover from it and died in 10 days. Chang, who was the president of the Republic of China, praised Yoon Bong-gil by saying that a young Korean patriot accomplished something that tens of thousands of Chinese soldiers could not do. The heroic act of Yoon Bong-gil washed out the suspicion of Korean collaboration with Japanese from Chiang Kai-shek's head, and he realized that Koreans and Chinese were on the same boat, that they are fighting against Japanese. Since then, Chiang Kai-shek and the Republic of China became the most important supporter of the Korean Provisional Government. Yoon Bong-gil was arrested at the scene and jailed in Japan and executed there at the age of 25. Kim-gu became a fugitive of relentless Japanese chase for years.